Any further discussion? Yep.
So, no, I agree that that's a good thing, and I think if it's on the north side, then it is facing towards the concert
correct.
site, and it's not facing away from it.
Yeah.
So, which would help, because it does get pretty bright out there. And then the next question is the timing on it? You said that, yeah, it should go, do we want to put that on there or just leave it in your court as far as when those get turned?
Well,
Because I don't think you want
I
it
think,
till 4 in the morning, but.
well,
But if
believe
you
it or
need
not,
them,
there's
but if-
people
there's
walking.
If it's a safety issue, then just leave them run.
So if we can set it to, during hours of darkness.
I mean, that
So
really
we-
doesn't matter if it's on during the
Yeah.
night then.
Yeah.
Just, I was mostly asking your opinion.
Yeah, I think, if we can have it. Cause I leave there at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's still groups waiting along the road.
And the
There's
lights
still
are still
groups.
on the campgrounds at that time.
They go
There's
up at
times,
2
well,
o'clock.
there's times like you guys are driving around and start shutting them down.
Yeah,
Okay.
we use that as a tool to get things to calm down.
I
Right.
see. Understand. But to me, it's at your discretion.
Yeah, I would be looking not to add the timing on there to allow it to happen as they
Yeah.
need. We just want to make sure that they're there and available, and then when they're on and off would be just between sheriff and Country Thunder.
Any further discussion? So the motion is to add this language.
Right, well, that's fine, that's good. I was, one other question, Captain, like Cameron, you were talking about, just the speed. Is there a temporary speed limit that, because right now it's 45 miles an hour.
No, we have not ever changed the speed limit there.
Do you think there should ever be, or I think the traffic is generally slow there because there's just so much traffic anyway.
Right, occasionally you'll get a crazy driver come out of an event, as you can imagine.
Right.
And, spin his tires and kick up dust and speed down the road. Typically, traffic is moving slowly because of the pedestrians. So I think, if the signs are there, that's fine. Enforcing it is another thing. I mean, I guess if something happens, that's another thing to hold somebody accountable for. But, it's a good suggestion. We also talked about reducing the speed limit on Richmond Road past behind the. We haven't done that yet, but, I don't know if that's something that needs to be in the cup or if that's something we can talk with highway about. Where does that need to go through?
Because it's not vetted out, we don't have highways opinion on it yet.
Right.
And I would just say that at this point in time, that we don't include it. The lighting is certainly necessary, but I think that that's something just
Yeah, I mean,
work it out with highway and.
during that event, that 110th Street should be equivalent to a residential road. Should be a 25.
Yeah, we can have conversations with highway on
Yeah.
that, because there's a process to be able to go through to deal with speed
Mhm.
limits.
Yep. I'm all for it if we can do it.
So the motion is to change the language. Use and governance? Aye. Nick?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Is there anyone here wishing to, I'm sorry, what did the township say? What did the municipality say?
Randall did hear this on February 10th. The motion was made to approve and it passed unanimous.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak for the petition? Anyone wishing to speak for the petition? Anyone wishing to speak against the petition? Anyone wishing to speak against the petition? We're now,
Motion to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions as stated, including our amended petition.
Second.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Use and governance? Aye. Committee?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for showing up.
No problem.
Being
You're
here.
talking about it.
So we don't have the condition that for you to be able to sign tonight, because we need to modify that and then get it to you to sign.
Yeah, that's fine. I can always run into that problem.
All right, thank you.
I can do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we have item number 5, which is the comprehensive plan amendment, planning development extension education committee. It's a public hearing on proposed comprehensive plan amendment, planning development extension. Request approval of a draft annual report, multi-jurisdictional plan for Kenosha County 2035. It's a 2023 annual report. So this is one that we did not bring before the committee last year. We actually had our 2024 meeting last month. And that'll be coming before the board once we have that completed, that report. But this is the 2023 report, and this is something that we do annually, and we're looking for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Any governance? Aye. Ready?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Yes.
Okay, then we'd like to ask for items 6, 7 to be removed from the table.
Motion to remove items 6 and 7 from the table.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to remove items 6 and 7 from the table. Any discussion?
Item number 6 is the request of Beeman Family Revocable Trust, 1050 136th Avenue, Union Grove, Wisconsin, 53182 owner. Lorraine Beeman, 1050 136th Avenue, Union Grove, Wisconsin, 53182 agent, requesting a rezoning from R2 suburban single family residential to R2 single family residential district in C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District on tax parcel number 454-221-114-0400, located in the town of Paris. So we'll show the map on this. And so here is the property outlined in red. The property is zoned R2. There is just an area that was determined to be low and meet the wetland requirements. And so that is being rezoned before you to C1 to represent that. And then in regards to the property itself that will be coming up, there is a certified survey map where there is a proposed land division, which is the next one, but you can see the wetlands here are showing up on that. So right here, we're just looking for the rezone to work with the wetlands as they're delineated on the property.
Commissioners?
They are.
Yes, okay. So if you would state your name and address and just explain your.
Lorraine Beeman, 1050 136th Avenue, Union Grove. I'm here to seek approval of the division of my property.
And the town said,
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
for
just this piece of.
yeah, for the rezone, the town does not weigh in. They've already expressed to us in the past that any wetlands that are determined that we can handle it right here through at the county.
So. Anyone speaking for the petition? Anyone speaking for the petition? Anyone speaking against the petition? Anyone speaking against the petition?
Motion to approve
Second.
the rezoning.
Any discussion? Youth and governance?
Who seconded that? Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Rest of the committee,
Aye.
Aye.
any opposed? Any abstaining? Right, that motion carries unanimously.
Okay, then we can move right on to item number 8 or 7, which is Beeman Family Revocable Trust, 1050 136th Avenue, Union Grove, Wisconsin, 53182 owner. Lorraine Beeman, 1050 136th Avenue, Union Grove, Wisconsin, 53182 agent, requesting a certified survey map in the town of Paris. And so we do have this certified survey map that complies with the R2 zoning district. And now we have the area that was low zone for wetlands, and staff would recommend approval of this CSM subject to the conditions. And those conditions were sent to your surveyor, so they're aware of what they need to do so that it's in a recordable form.
And what did Paris say?
And Paris did weigh in on this. And so the town of Paris met on this on January 28th. Motion was made to approve and passed unanimously.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anyone wishing to speak for the petition? Anyone wishing to speak for the petition? Anyone wishing to speak against the petition? Anyone wishing to speak against the petition? Anyone?
Motion to approve the certified survey map with the conditions as stated.
Second.
You're pointing at me.
I was pointing at you.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Youth and governance? Committee?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimous.
Thanks for being here for this. So just so you know that the rezone part, again, like the other party, will go before the county board next week. You do not need to attend. And then those conditions will be updated for the items that needs to take place in the CSM. And once that happens, then we'll let you know, or the surveyor will let us know, so that we can have the chair sign, and then it will be able to be recorded.
And when do I get this?
Well, in some way, it depends on how quick your surveyor can get to the changes, but it would be no sooner than next Tuesday.
Oh, okay,
So fairly soon.
okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
So item 8 remains tabled, so that's an item that is not actually going to be acted upon by the town, but on here, the Zerbos wanted to maintain this. They have found another piece of property in the town of Wheatland that they are going to be bringing before this committee in May. Those items will be before this. If approval happens with that, then this item would get withdrawn. If not, that he may want to act on this, but at that time it would be dealt with. And that would be in May. So our other item that we have is a resolution to approve the plat plan and authorize the acquisition of properties associated with the plat plan. That's regarding the South Branch Pike River. And we have Chris Walton here from Public Works with Finance. We have Shelley here from Public Works. We have Dave Giordano with Root Pike Wind. If anyone has any questions regarding this or anything specific. I know that just from the work session, the language was reviewed by Corp Council and other parties and was viewed to be acceptable as an amendment.
Can I make the amendment now? Is that appropriate in this public hearing? Andy? At this time?
At this time, yeah, you can do that.
I'd like to make an amendment to modify the portion that says now therefore be it resolved that the Kenosha County Board of Supervisors approves the plat plan shown on Exhibit A that is attached and incorporated by reference. Put a period after reference and then remove the line and the resultant acquisition of properties associated with this project.
We're just.
And then Dave, did you want to bring up this last paragraph?
Would we need to?
Well, yeah, that's just, we need.
We can act on that one so on its own.
Second the motion.
I mean, we could do both at the same time.
All right. Did you want me to read that language, or do you want, I sent it to you.
Yeah, I think if you can just read that.
I don't know if I can remember it. Be it further resolved that the county board does hereby authorize the administration to negotiate terms and conditions necessary to purchase subject properties with final approval of the purchase with final purchase to be approved by the county board.
That's to replace the last one.
Correct.
And that was vetted by, Corp Council?
Corp Council.
Yes.
I talked to him today and he said that was good. But did you have any interaction with Corp Council as well? Or?
We did. Yeah, we had conversation that was refuted and it was viewed to be a change that was fine.
So if that's okay, I'll add that language
Yes.
to your motion.
Yep, that's good friendly amendment there.
All right. Any discussion?
Do we need to just verify the second on that?
I did.
You did.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. She nodded.
Okay.
Any discussion? Youth and Governance? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
All right. So that was the approval subject to those changes. Yeah.
To me, I know, my motion is to make the change.
Just make the changes, okay.
Okay.
So then I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
All right.
Do we have to have any other, like, speaking in favor or anything like that here?
No.
Okay, then I make a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
Second it, but I'd like to comment on it. That's
Okay,
what it's on for.
all right, discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you. So, when I first came to the county, I did something I typically do when I come into an organization. I did a 10-page analysis of Osha County. And this was on my list of challenged items. It was an item that was in the capital project budget. And there were a lot of items that concerned me about this project. One is it wasn't fully funded. We were getting resolutions put in front of us that would require spending, but we hadn't approved the funding for that spending. For example, we could buy the property and end up with that property and not be able to finish the project because we only had part of the bonds approved. And there was roughly $2 to $3 million of additional bonds that were not approved. So one thing we're doing here that's different than the last cycle is that tomorrow the bonds are going to the finance committee for approval. So this whole package, this plat approval, along with the funding for this project will be coupled together. The other thing that I saw was that in our policies, it looked like some change happened between 2018 and 2022, where there wasn't a requirement that the budget be fully funded. Where prior to 2018, there was a project of county board policy that any project be fully funded before the dollars get spent. But in the last county board cycle, we adopted policy that required that projects be fully funded, so that addressed that part of the issue. Another issue was that there was a requirement that, or there were many reports that were made that it would mitigate flooding. In this case, it's been clearly reported in the meeting of the whole, it was clearly reported that there are many benefits to this project, but it will not mitigate flooding. So the board is being told properly what's happening. And another item is that the administration worked really hard, and I think members of the county board also worked really hard to find a way to cut the budget for this. So if we looked at what the county share would be adjusted for inflation, it would be at least $7 million. Now, that's a conservative estimate. It'd probably be a little higher than that, but a conservative estimate. And in the analysis we have, that there's a possibility of it being half that. And you might say probability, but I'm going to say, to be conservative, possibility that the county share will be half of that. We went to work and got grant funding and other possible contributions to take that $7 million number down to $3.5 million. So that's really a high level summary of the improvements that were made, because the county executive put this project on a pause, put it back on the drawing board, and now we're bringing it back. And the basic challenges of this proposal have been mitigated. So I think it's a good project, so I would support it. So I did the second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Youth and Governance.
Aye.
Rest of the committee.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Oh, yeah, thanks for coming, guys. All of you. See ya. I was waiting for some stuff. Just walking, yeah, no choice. I don't know, like.
I would see.
Yeah, just. Yeah, have to see here for sure. Yeah.
Figure out.
Thank you.
Stakeholders.
Whatever you're supposed to say. Yeah. Right, thank you. That's it.
Neil, would you, are you gonna wanna connect? Yeah.
And then one is.
So what I think is really important.
Put ratio on these cold frames to the raised bed today.
Oh, really? Okay. You should do that. Should government very
It's grounded, it's warm in there already.
yeah.
Basically.
Just use a meat cooking thermometer.
Yeah.
See if the thermal temperature minimum 45 degrees.
It was warm to the touch. Chairman, we're meeting about radish. What do you think? It's gardening season.
Even if you do the radishes, you can also do lettuce. Any leafy plants.
I have those under grow lights right now. You can transplant back. Charge. Some winter, freezing and roaming.
Wow, okay.
Thank you, Harrison. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back here again. I would like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Camille Carlson. I'm the Positive Youth Development Educator in Kenosha County. One of the programs I oversee is governance, and I would like to turn it over to Claire to.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Cook. I am a senior at Indian Trail. This is my first year in youth and governance, and I currently serve on the legislative committee. Otherwise, I do attend some other meetings sometimes you might have seen me before. But I'm going to get into some of these handbook changes. So these changes were kind of made as a whole, collectively at a group work session that we held back in September. However, these changes then Camille formatted them to actually fit into the handbook based on our recommendations. But this was a whole group discussion. So we're just going to go behind. I know I've already presented to you what the changes are, but just some more rationale behind the changes. So we can get started. So the presentation, we're going to go through the significant handbook changes, which are increasing the minimum amount of required county board meetings, adding language to introduce a possible service project, and then other general formatting changes and other changes. After I finish presenting, we can then do questions and feedback and then possibly a vote if that's what the committee would like. So this presentation we made, there's 3 of us that actually worked on it. And we just kind of went through based on the meeting that we had back in December, what we felt like we wanted to re-explain to the committee that might have been misinterpreted or anything like that. Started. So the first one is that county board minimum. So that's going to be seen on page 6 of the actual handbook itself. So our YID cohort again met in September. 11 of 15 of us were present at that meeting. And we voted to increase the minimum amount of county board meetings for all youth from 1 to 3 meetings. And then to meet the kind of norm of if a youth fails to meet their 50% of committee meetings, they'd be asked to step down for that. So same thing with this county board. If they did not attend 3 county board meetings, they'd be asked to step down then. So why? To maintain strong applicants, continue the reputation of YID being a prestigious program, and to further engage members. So we'll kind of get into this more on the next slide, but 3 meetings really is not a ton for high school students to attend. And we want to maintain that strong application pool. So I notice here we already have more applicants, which is great. And it's not like a huge thing. So this is some data that we found behind that. So this is using data from 2024. So I took every county board meeting into account. The duration, so you'll see that. And then the total, so I did exclude that first meeting in January, that was in regards to the casino, so it was a bit of a longer meeting if you remember. And I excluded that one simply because I don't think the youth would be expected to stay until 1 a.m. And I'm sure that can be excused, so I'm sure you can understand why I excluded that from the data. However, the average county board meeting duration for the state is 49 minutes. I'm sure you know they kind of vary. I know last night I was only 13 minutes. So it's definitely easy for a youth to look at the agenda and kind of be able to scope out how long the meeting's going to be. But even taking this average into account, that's 2 hours and 30 minutes that we're asking a youth to invest in this program. And I don't think over the duration of 12 months, that's really asking a lot. So Youth and Governance runs from May to May. So there's many county board meetings that they can attend, even including that holiday break. So you could easily kick out your 3 in summer break from that May to September time if you know you're going to be busy. Otherwise, counting like you could go over spring break or anything like that. But 2 hours and 30 minutes, I don't think is an extreme time commitment. Another great thing about increasing this from 1 meeting to 3 meetings would be that some committees don't run very frequently. So this is just increasing the amount of opportunity that you have to actually see how government runs and to gain experience and just have an equitable term, if that makes sense. So that's it for change 1. I'm going to get into change 2 here. And then again, I'll come back for feedback and stuff because I'd love to hear it. But so the second change was the service projects. You're going to find this on page 11. So this is just a screenshot of the exact wording that's within the pamphlet itself. But the rationale behind this is it's just an optional opportunity for youth to engage. We did include some stats on why our cohort this year, I know myself, I didn't personally participate in the service project, but we worked with the girls who did on this and why they wanted to. So since that's 58% of college admissions talk about it having a positive impact on your application, and 53% of those admitted that it was a tiebreaker decision if you've had community service and community planning skills against the other option that didn't, if you will say. So kind of 2 things to note about this. 1, it's optional. So how this would be decided is when YIG comes together on our bus tour. That was the first time we actually discussed it because this is something that Racine Youth and Governance has done for the past few years running service projects. So their advisor joined us on our bus tour along with Camille and kind of brought up the idea, is this something you guys would be interested in? I know myself, I thought I already have a few community service projects through my high school that we run, so I probably didn't have the bandwidth to join these, but some of our members did and they decided to pursue that. And that was a completely optional opportunity, and Camille made that clear throughout the process. I know even some people have kind of come for stuff, some stuff, not come for other stuff, whatever they can fit into their schedule, but it is completely optional. However, this really does benefit you. So obviously there's personal gain with helping with college applications and setting yourself apart, but also just building skills. So professional communication is one of them. I know this year we worked with the Shalom Center, so that's definitely growing your skills in that sense. Additionally, just project management. So for this, they had to get funds, obviously reach out to the Shalom Center. All those different aspects are really helping a youth gain knowledge and leadership skills, which is what I believe Youth and Governance is truly about. It's just gaining your presentation and leadership skills. And I think this is a really great opportunity to do that. So again, just adding language that's completely optional, but making youth aware. And it also kind of keeps you competitive with some other programs in the area, as community service has pretty much been integrated into every area of the high school experience. From my perspective, KOSD requires community service at least 10 hours. So this would be a way for people to knock that 10 hours out. But it's also just common now within clubs and organizations that I'm in to fulfill a community service aspect, especially with Youth and Governance being a community oriented program. I think it makes sense to give back to your community. So that is change 2. And change 3, we can kind of quickly go through these. These are the main ones, but this packet here highlights everything that specifically was changed throughout it. But page 7, I know this is something we discussed at our last meeting. We wanted to add language that youth knew that they could nominate themselves. So that's really important. That's under the application process, the first paragraph. So it says youth themselves are encouraged to nominate students, including self-nomination. So that's a great change that we've made. Also, page 13, adding an FAQ section. This is something that, again, was discussed in September. Some of you just felt like they didn't have a great understanding coming into the program, what it was, and that some of those questions could have been answered ahead of time. So this was questions that we came up with, and then answers that we personally gave to the questions. On page 14, we removed the executive committee via request of the chairwoman to remove that as an option for future years. Member contacts will be updated as the new mentors are chosen, of course. You also see throughout the packet, we have changed the format. If you're familiar with the old one looked like, it did not have any graphics, any pictures, anything like that. So it really looks a lot better than the last one, I would also add. And then on the last page in the back, you'll find that these dates are updated to reflect this year and the rest of the pamphlet as well to represent what the new cohort will actually need for their dates. But again, this packet talks about all the changes within it. So yeah, I'll take time now for any questions or feedback. I'd love to dig more into this if you guys would like.
Well, I certainly appreciate the presentation and the thought that went into it. Instead of asking you a question, I want to ask you too. How do you feel about the 3 board meetings?
I think that's fair, yeah. I think, I know I haven't been able to go to many because I just can't do Tuesdays, but I know, especially with just having enough time ahead, if you're looking at this and saying, oh, I need to make these 3 days. Or like, it's 3 nights, I don't think that's gonna be a huge issue. The reason I can't do it is just because of work. So I know that if I knew ahead of time, I could totally make time, so.
Okay, so what would happen if we had somebody who shows up for every other meeting, but they can't make a board meeting because they work? I was a server through college, and I know it was a different age, but I was a server through college, and I never go to church on Sunday because even on Saturday, I literally worked every Friday, Saturday night and Sunday morning. What would happen? I showed up, I did everything, you know, I was a student, I did everything, but so what would happen in a case like Jennifer's that?
Well, I mean, I could just, yeah, I mean, that's a great point. So, similarly, again, if they didn't meet the 3 requirement, they'd be asked to step down, though I do know there could be possibly some leniency if they do attend all their committee meetings. I know if someone is asked to step down, it comes before this committee first, so they could of course make a case for themselves like, hey, I have this job, but I have attended all my meetings. I'm doing this to be engaged. I do want to make, it's not like an automatic, they're removed from the committee. They actually come before and kind of have that opportunity. But I will say, like, again, knowing ahead of time that it's those 3, if you know that you work every Tuesday, that might be kind of problematic if you can't find 3 Tuesdays throughout 12 months to take off. However, it's the same thing with committees running on the same schedule like every Wednesday. So it's just kind of something that you have to know. And I think that's why it's great to have it in a handbook going in ahead of time so people are aware of that commitment. But yeah, I guess Camille could talk more about what she might see because she knows the future of the program, but.
Yeah, I also think, the meetings are recorded, so there might be an opportunity to do like a group virtual viewing or something, like we could watch the most recent or something like on a different night of the week, instead of Tuesday when it's regularly scheduled, or I know it's the 1st and 3rd, so maybe the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays are better, so I think there could be, workarounds that could still engage youth with the county board meetings.
And then, so this handbook goes to the students before they are engaged.
So kind of twofold. I know the new website it is available on. So before they decided to apply, once they were nominated, they could view it if they'd like to, and the updates will be reflected once they're approved on the website. Otherwise, I know the first time I actually got the physical handbook in my hand was after your orientation in May. And that's kind of when you find out anyway what committee you're going to be on. So you find out what nights your meetings are going to be. So it's consistent when you find out all the other information about the program.
Is the,
Go ahead.
on the application, is there a hot link or something to the handbook or to the webpage or something like that? So that's the way somebody knows that there is a handbook and that they can view it if they, you know, they want to apply.
I know I've included it in the brochure and I've included the link to our website. So it's the website is easily accessible and the handbook is very obvious on the website. So yeah, but in terms of like linking the handbook itself, I haven't, but there's like a pretty thorough description of the program and what's expected and required attached to the application. So.
And that would be updated to reflect the changes.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of the recruitment season right now, so, there would be a delay in communication for the upcoming cohort, but yeah, for the next cohort, I would make sure to have that accurate information reflected on the documents, and I could easily, point a link to the handbook.
Yeah, I mean, even this cohort hasn't been selected yet, so we're easy.
Yeah.
Supervisor Robinson.
When you say county board meetings, do you also include committee of the wholes, the budget hearings, those kind of things? Because those are not held on Tuesdays. Those are often held on other days, and anytime there's an election on a Tuesday, we bump our meeting to Wednesday. So that also would kind of address some of your concern about I'm only working Tuesday night. That means I could flip over, you know, to Wednesday.
Committee of the whole, it makes perfect sense. Camille and I talked earlier today about like finance. If you're on the finance committee and finance is meeting 5 times, you know, does that really count? Do you really need to make 60% of those meetings? And I said, no, you don't, because there was, you know, one regularly scheduled meeting, but yeah, that makes perfect sense to kind of a workaround as well.
I will say for the, keeping the link of the handbook on the application, I think the first thing I got when I saw the nomination letter was go online, look up Kenosha YIG, and it sends you right there. So that was, I found most of that information really easy just looking it up, so.
Yeah, and there's been an overhaul of the website now, so hopefully it's even easier than it was last year too.
Supervisor Ducker and Gersten, I know that you were concerned about the change last time. Is that still?
I am, I mean, right now we're discussing and we're already talking about making exceptions to it. If you need to talk about making exceptions to it, then it's not a good rule, in my opinion. We're talking about having online or watching the videos. Well, youth can do that anytime. That's not the same as meeting in person. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Valid.
And when we originally put this in place, that it was one meeting, the first meeting where they got sworn in was not one of the meetings. The last meeting where they were awarded their certificates, that was not one of the meetings also.
Right.
So it was one of any of the meetings in between those.
So what if we said 2 meetings, that they have to attend 2 meetings? I think, Claire, I think your logic of it's, you know, 2.5 hours is certainly not a lot of time if you are planning on being invested. And so I think the flip of it is, yeah, we're looking for exceptions, but we're also like not even giving them a chance to not need an exception. So what if we said 2 meetings? Would that satisfy everybody to say, okay, there's a higher expectation and yet it's not, you know, at 2 hours? Yeah.
I mean, it could. Again, I would just go back to logic. I don't think 2.5 hours is a lot to ask. I think this program really is trying to recruit qualified students. And I think by doing that, you do have requirements, because when you're looking at a college application stuff, you want to put your most prestigious programs on there. And I think in order to be a prestigious program, you have to have stuff behind it, if that makes sense. So I have to be able to talk about, I didn't just attend one committee meeting once, but I also gained knowledge hearing from the committee as a whole at the county board meetings. And I met supervisors that I had never before connected with, and they worked on a service project. So I just think it's benefiting the youth. And I think you'll see, I mean, you guys are kind of familiar with when youth are required to do something, they're more so encouraged to do it. Obviously, youth could be attending county board meetings, but if there's not that push to, or it's kind of intimidating to even, that means that you probably won't. So it is a requirement, and there's a lot of what ifs you can do to kind of void that. But I think the goal would be that I think youth have an expectation. They have 12 months to meet those 3 requirements. And again, if it's a really severe case, then you could look for those exceptions. And I think the committee of a whole and stuff is a great point. And that's something I questioned when pulling my data. I just did those so it would be kind of consistent, because it was very in time. But that'd be like a great exception if that was needed. But I think the expectation should just be that someone could fit in those 2.5 hours across 12 months.
What if we left it at 3 and added language that said virtual meetings may be considered to meet this requirement?
And I was actually just gonna say, Claire just talked me out of any exception.
Yeah.
I was gonna like, leave it at 3 if that's what you want, because you're right, you're 100% right that this is an expectation. And so if people are expected to show up and do, then why would we make exceptions? Now, the flip of that, of course, is they're not going to, and then we're gonna be out of a great program. So, but I don't know.
It will happen when you put the rule in.
I know, so I guess I'd rather not even change, like, I'd rather change it to however many we say, and then there aren't really any exceptions until we have to deal with each exception completely individually. Julia?
I guess, I'm looking at the fact that we have a youth and governance program in order to hear feedback from the youth. We have feedback from the youth, and they're saying, expect more from us, that we are capable and we can fit it in here and here and here. And if we're being given that feedback, I don't have a problem accepting it. And if I accept it and we say, okay, let's try 3. And if somebody has a problem, Camille will come to us and say, okay, we're having a problem, or the mentor that they're working with will come up and say, okay, we have a problem, here's the situation. And at that point, we deal with it, just as we have expectations of, we're gonna be at meetings unless we aren't, and we're gonna have to then talk to our chair, and we're gonna have to talk to, get excused and all those kind of things. So I mean, I guess they're giving us the feedback. They're saying, we've thought about it, we've talked about it, we've debated it. Let's try it. And so I vote, or I suggest that we go ahead and follow their suggestion, listen to them, and see what happens.
How many youth and governance do we have now?
I would say 15 at this point in time. We started off with 16, but based from our last conversation in December, yeah.
Okay, so 12 of those people aren't here. Honestly, did any of those people say, what a bad idea, I can't even make one meeting? Did you get feedback that says, no, I don't think that's a good idea?
I would say at our initial meeting, when it was discussed in September, everyone was in favor of increasing it at least. Claire advocated for 5 initially. I know several youth were like, oh, 5, that's a lot, but I think everyone was pretty settled on 3. So I think 3 is a good group consensus, I would say.
And originally too, with the 5, there's discussion and confusion as the first and last one counted. And now we've clarified those will not count. So it's 3 outside. I mean, if on the first meeting you stayed for the whole rest of the meeting, then that can count. But just being sworn in doesn't count towards one of the 3.
Any further discussion?
And just to clarify, there was 11 youth present that night, so 11 out of 15. So I would say it was a majority. So, yeah.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Motion for what?
Oh, to approve the handbook, to approve the change.
Oh, I have other questions.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm not gonna approve a handbook when there's supposed to be quotes in here
Oh,
and there's nothing written, because I don't know what's gonna be put in there.
good point.
Yeah, I was waiting till the end of their year to ask for their advice. Yeah, just so they would be able to offer advice from their full year of experience.
Your table of contents, the page numbers are wrong, a bunch of them. So. And then also about the service project being, in there. We had discussion last time about how we don't think there should be a service project, even if it is optional at the December meeting, so.
I remember the December meeting, I didn't think we said that. I thought we said, Julia. I thought we said,
I'm trying to think, I don't know.
Because it was in the brochure and it did mention that it was optional.
Right, but we had to change it, so it said optional. I mean, right, so we said they could do a service, but that's fine, as long as everyone understood it was optional.
Yeah, it's as long as it's in that brochure that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I haven't seen the brochure.
No,
I didn't bring copies, but I could show you the January version I've been mailing out to the school, but I just removed the service project completely from the brochure.
Okay.
Yeah, and changed it to like the one county board meeting. That's it.
Got it.
Is the current.
got it, okay, so then this would go into effect for the 2026 cohort?
25, 26.
But if you're sending
No.
things out that say that they only have to come to one meeting,
Right,
you can't send out brochures that say one meeting, you only have to do this. And then have a cohort apply and then say, oh, psych, now it's 3.
I haven't been emailing the brochures, but I see what you're saying. Like, I've just been like using it as part of the nomination packet, so it's like in the schools, but it's not necessarily going directly to the youth. So I think changes happen year to year, and this is a change that's happening.
So it'll be 25, 26. So this is, so if we took out the sheet that has no quotes on it and we fixed the page numbers.
page 19. Annette Ziegler is not the Chief Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court right now.
That, I don't know, I'm the Chief Justice.
It's not Annette Ziegler.
I was familiar with that, but I apologize.
Page 22, I know this is a chart that you got from somewhere, but it says there's an elected office of juvenile intake. There is no elected office of juvenile intake. Wherever you found that from, they need to correct that. On this chart.
Yeah.
I know, but that is incorrect.
I can, yeah, reach out to the, clerk's office. I think that's where I got it from. I reached out to somebody this weird.
I know, I mean, there is a juvenile intake, but it's not. Page 31, you have executive committee still listed on there, and there is no executive committee. Page 32, I'm not sure if Joe Cardinal is the person at the Judiciary and Law Committee. I know he is for the Legislative Committee to contact.
So Lisa spelled wrong as well. Only one S on Xavier's this.
Yeah, it's only one L, or one S. I think those,
I know we're not providing the executive committee as an option for you to serve on. But it's still an existing committee, would it?
but you removed it out of here. So do you still want it listed as a committee?
Well, I was proposing that as a question, like, would it be beneficial for the youth? Would it be confusing?
No.
That's,
I'd pull it.
I'd pull it too. Because we removed it off from here, correct? I mean, it was laid out differently before,
Yeah.
because we don't even have it listed on here.
Because that way people don't, it is still a committee, however, which means that people could attend it.
Right.
However, there may be somebody who looks at it and says, ooh, I want to be part of the executive committee, and then we're like, no, you can't. You know, so I don't think that the contact, I mean, there's no need to have a contact if we're not gonna have you as assigned to it, personally.
But
I don't
if
care
you want the
either
chair, if you want the chair's contact information, you could just list it as the chair of the board, if that's what your intention is. But I wouldn't list it as the legislative committee. And then on page 15, you have all these mentors listed in their emails. These may not be the same mentors for this next term because Chair Brown gets to choose those after the, what was that?
Finally, some real power.
I just left them in for formatting purposes, but the handbook does get updated year to year with general, like, new decisions and, yeah, stuff, so.
I think those are all the changes I had, or corrections. Let's go through it.
So how would you like to proceed, committee? Do we want to see this again? Do we want to approve it with changes? Do we want, or at least discuss approval of changes?
I think those changes are pretty basic. If you're not comfortable having a blank thing with the quotes, then I would move that we accept the handbook with removal of the page for the quotes, which can be added electronically when you bring it back to us. But for the most part, let's at least get this out so that the people for next year can start looking at it and have it available and have it updated. And just, I guess if you could just send us a copy once you have made the changes that were addressed. And I have one typo that I'll show you later, but, that would be my, sure. Well, talk about it. I'll let you.
So the advice from Kenosha County youth leaders, do we basically as a board want to retain the approval authority of this, basically saying it's fine to be able to do this, but you know, subject to our approval? Do we want to see this back or do you just want to see it out?
I don't think it's really needed personally. Does anyone else? Thoughts?
I understand why it's desirable because it generates people's interest.
Oh, right, but I don't think, in order to get this passed, I don't think.
So when would it, I guess that's what I'm trying to get to is if we pull it out, at what point in time does it get in or do we take a look at this and see what it is?
Well, Camille was saying, once this cohort ends, so after May, she'll grab quotes from them and then put it back in.
Yeah, I was
And then
thinking of,
he was saying we could then see it electronically.
Or see it here.
Yeah.
yeah, I was even thinking of starting, collecting them like early in May, just so that it could be ready for orientation, for the new cohort. Just to provide a little bit more context, there was a previous like 13 tips from youth leaders and it was like from before 2010, so many of the youth were like, oh, I think these are outdated tips. It would be better if it came from us and our own lived experiences. So that's why we proposed Kenosha County Youth Leader advice page, or they proposed it.
I think it's a good thing to have, just because I remember like at the orientation meeting, the outgoing cohort speaks about advice and stuff. So I just think it's good to have that in writing so you can remember what they're saying, because it's a lot to digest. It's a long night. But then that's just something kind of, because every year, as I understand, this would be updated, so maybe that needs to come before the committee every year. That's something that you want to make sure you approve.
I guess that was the nature of my question. Do we want to approve it subject to further approval of the advice from county leaders, youth leaders?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, let's just move this along so that they can at least get it started out. And then when they get the quotes, which she can get over the next month, so that it's ready for the May, then it can come back in and get moved along.
Well, yeah, but we would need reapproval as
It
much as
may before,
reapprove just the quotes.
yeah. So we want that in our meeting, our main meeting.
May meeting or June meeting?
Well, that would be after.
Yeah, so, okay, so.
Well, we're gonna approve the new cohort, right? All the, because at that, for me, at that meeting is when you do it.
Yeah,
That would be in the April meeting that we approved on the cohort.
Right.
so we'll have your quotes done by April so we can do both. Is that gonna work for you? Okay.
Take them work.
Okay.
Does that seem reasonable?
I don't think they're gonna have these big, a big revelation in a month.
No, Aristotle. Yeah, agree, yeah. All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second? To approve this, taking out this sheet until April, but getting the rest of this done and move forward.
With the changes that.
Yeah. Second. All right, any further discussion? Yes,
One of the things I want to say is that I think it was good that these changes were made. But remember, when you're adopting a thing like this, I think the minutes are recorded, and I don't know how detailed the written minutes will be. But the drafting minutes show intent. So when you're looking at kicking someone off the committee because they didn't meet some requirement, you can go back to these drafting minutes and use that for rationale for, you know, like you said, someone could look at a meeting remotely and that could meet the requirements, so they get kicked off. I'm just saying that as an example, so, and I yield for.
Any further discussion? All right, Youth and Governance, Committee?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your hard work on
Thank you.
on this,
Thank
and a good presentation as well. Thank you.
It looks so much better.
Shut up, son.
So what that sounds like is despite Aaron's picking at it, he's in favor of it. No, it's gotta be right. Aye.
The PowerPoint, because we have to plug into this, and I also need you to join the Teams
I
meeting.
can just do it actually.
Okay, I need you to join the Teams meeting because that is not showing up on our video.
I did not do that initially, so.
And I know Andy was having trouble logging into the Teams meeting earlier, but you should have gotten a new meeting request and Outlook earlier. So you can join it that way. If you can't join, fine.
No, it's,
but I-
I'm working on it. Would this be an appropriate time to run some, questions past you guys, or should I wait till after the presentation?
Are you talking about these?
Related to the recruitment, process,
Sure.
or,
Well, what's your presentation gonna be?
or the extension.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So you answer that question for yourself. Is that a good time? Is now a good time, or is it better during your presentation?
Yes, or after the presentation, the extensions presentation.
That's fine.
After,
Yeah.
okay.
You have to go check her email to the latest invite that I sent out, because after that's.
Yes.
I was trying to. It's done, actually, it's done. Sorry. Back. Questions? It's the typo. Yeah. I'm just gonna do that, you don't need to, you already have this point.
I think so, yeah.
You don't need to enter the proposition.
But if you want to.
Right, yeah.
But if you want to, sorry.
And I get weed from Heidi.
You're talking about
Justice.
You're talking about kerning. I'm.
Okay, that's readability. So like that page is less intimidating.
So what did you click, the join button or the one where it said join meeting now? Because there's three different, emails or, calendar invites that went out. And I know that Andy couldn't get them earlier. So if you go to the one that's in your email, I sent it around 6:45 or something. That one might work, that's the latest one that they have.
This is your first one here. It was like 11.
That was a long one. That's not normal.
Yeah, you kept telling me that. I'm like,
That was the Lake District one and the Lily Lake Resort, I think. were
Oh,
Same
right.
agenda, I think. See, that's the thing is, we said, well, you look and see the agenda and see if it's any longer.
Well, let's try it.
No, but so if it's in like an email or something, because it's being recorded.
It's a good reminder of the one.
like,
Yeah.
Casinos.
Yeah. It's like,
I knew it was late, but I.
my watch speed, so I think.
Okay.
You got it from there.
Was it mid-year?
Lots of public comments at the beginning.
At an hour.
I was showing up and-
And then there was debate on stuff that didn't even matter.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One,
That's not working.
So it- just have a little coffee.
Say we now.
Meal for,
I think I brought 2 beverages, cans of soda and we're in time, but.
Ready for a bio break.
Right, just got it.
Bathroom break, yeah.
Okay, Luke.
Oh, there you go.
I think these.
All right, we're good.
That's how long Citizen County went, didn't it, wasn't it?
We might have.
Okay.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start off with our extension presentation for the year. I'm not sure if she had a chance to email you or not, but Pam is gone tonight. She had a family emergency to attend to. So we are all pitching in together to be Pam, and that's a big role to fill. So hopefully we'll get it done. Okay, the extension mission embodies the Wisconsin idea, which is pushing all of our UW resources and partnering to develop and connect the UW-Madison research and resources out to the community and to address local, statewide, and national issues. And the extension partnerships have been between Kenosha County, UW system, and the USDA for 100+ years. Educational resources to the county departments, division, municipalities, and organizations throughout the county. And the county pays for part of our salaries and benefits and provides our offices and computers. And then UW-Madison pays the remainder of our benefits and salary, provides access to the research specialists and statewide network resources that we can pass on to our counties.
Alrighty, so there's a lot of numbers on this slide, so instead of accidentally butchering these numbers, I'm gonna let you read all of these lovely numbers of all of our program highlights from this year. But some of these numbers reflect our just plant health advising program, a lot of those extension programs we put on throughout the year, then those volunteers that we had, some of those outreach programming, just different partnering organizations too, some of our great FoodWise connections and just participants in general. I'd like to highlight too at the bottom too, you can see those FoodWise programs got over 1,000 this year, which is really, really exciting. Then if you look at the other side, you can see some of those wonderful partnerships that we have engaged in this past year. And we are incredibly thankful for all of them. And two, if you want to just kind of look in the middle too, it's really reminding you that UW Extension is very multifaceted. So we have lots of different kind of things going on all at once, even though we're all under that UW Extension umbrella, we are all doing a lot of really awesome but different kinds of programming. No, you're good. So next, all of our educators are going to go through and we're going to highlight our program highlights from this past year. Then we're just going to discuss a little bit of what we're planning on doing for this next year. And don't worry, if you're not done listening to me talk yet, I get to go first. So if you all don't remember me, I'm Savannah Myers. I'm our community development educator. So as you can see, we got a lot of really awesome stuff done in 2024. So I first started out with the homegrown program. So this was still a little bit newer as I'm only about 1.5 years in my role. So this was my first full year as a UW Extension employee. So I started with this program. You can see in the middle too, our great little homegrown logo. So this brought around a lot of different entrepreneurial resources from across the community where we sat down and talked about how we could really expand our entrepreneurial ecosystem in Kenosha County. And a lot of these other programs actually came from those discussions that day. So next is our countywide broadband engagement. So I have had the wonderful opportunity of sitting in on a lot of our broadband advisory board committees. And I also took part in when we were utilizing those ARPA dollars to start one of those Midwest fiber projects out in Paris and expanding that. I was part of kind of helping make those decisions. I have also helped a lot with the BEAD process for Kenosha County. We just finished up that first round not that long ago. We're hoping to have another broadband meeting soon to talk a little bit more about what that might look like. I do not believe we received any BEAD funding from this round, as I've heard so far, but we're going to keep on discussing that more and more. Next is I engaged in a CAVA investor survey. So I got to work with Nicole and all the members at CAVA to see how they're interacting with the community and how we can continue to kind of expand those economic development resources in the community. And with this, I helped create the survey. I created a survey report and I got to present to the CAVA board, and they're going to utilize that to create a better CAVA and better events throughout the year. Next is our Kenosha County Housing Task Force. I hope you all have gotten to see some of that. That has kind of been my pride and joy currently. So as you can see in that second picture right there, that is me and my program manager presenting at that task force kickoff meeting. We did a blueprint of different things that are currently happening in the state and throughout the country of different housing initiatives and innovations, and it's been really, really exciting. So from this meeting, we created 3 different working groups. So we did the financial tools, the planning, zoning, and design standards, and the promotions, which focuses on education and marketing. I am the head of that promotions group, and I'm also helping Nicole and Andy, who are the heads of the other 2 groups, with those facilitation tactics. We're hoping to start doing some of that action planning soon, so I'm really excited to see that happen as well. And then my other big pride and joy of this past year was this entrepreneurial resource landing page. So I worked with a lot of different organizations throughout the county to create a web page where entrepreneurs, if they're starting a business, maintaining or growing a business, or succeeding in a business, are able to go and find all of those county resources and also some of those state resources. It goes through every single part. The biggest chunk is that legal resources of all those different legality things that you have to do. So I worked with SCORE mentors, I worked with WIBIC, I worked with the SBDC, and we have already seen a lot of partners pushing that out to individuals as well. And actually another thing that we're super excited about is an extension. They're actually planning on replicating this for many counties across the state. So, and finally, one other thing that came from that homegrown program is some of these entrepreneurial education programs. So that first one, I did an Avenues to Success, which was talking about failures in entrepreneurship and how to work through that. 3 lovely entrepreneurs from across Kenosha County, all talking about their experiences and how those failures helped them grow. And we actually just finished this morning/afternoon our small business lunch and learn series with the Kenosha Public Library, WIBIC, and the SBDC. We did a program on access to capital right now, and we are in the talks of doing another one this fall. So my plan of work for this next year is really kind of continuing on a lot of these programs and ideas. So making sure that we continue to grow that entrepreneurial ecosystem, continue to support that broadband, but also digital equity access across the county. Also tools and programs to continue to support that housing for all. We're hoping to have another task force, big task force meeting this June too. And we're already starting talking about getting different presenters into and really continuing that conversation to see that action and that work. I was at the CAVA annual meeting earlier today too, and we were talking about how we hope at that annual meeting next year too, we're able to show some of those action plans already in progress. And then finally, supporting community placemaking and vitality efforts. So I'm also currently in the works of working with Downtown Kenosha and Visit Kenosha on trying to get our college students more engaged in the community.
Good evening. So my name is Alana Perez-Valier. I'm the new financial security educator with extension. I'm still learning my acronym for my institute, Human Development and Relationships Institute. I'll just go over some of the work that Mary had covered in 2024, and then I'll share what I'm working on so far. So Mary, she had a split. She was with Health and Wellbeing, and over the years, it morphed into more of the financial security. So with her Health and Wellbeing, she was working with behavioral health, with foster parent training, emotional coaching, and a program called Talking with Kids About Tough Stuff, Strong Kids, Strong Families, and then providing resources for Kenosha Correctional Facility. With her financial security role, she was working with participants with the Rent Smart program. She was also facilitating Rent Smart trainer programs and encouraging financial conversations. These were also local and statewide. And then the Money Smart for Head Start with West Osher and Jefferson counties, the financial education with Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which is also the Kenosha Housing Authority, the Financial Education Correctional Center again with financial resources, and then, so the resources and the education itself. So my first day was February 3rd, so I'm 5.5 weeks in. So I am doing a lot of onboard training with Extension and with HCRI.
I do have a background with extension, so I was a food-wise educator for many years for Racine and Kenosha counties. It's allowed me to have relationships already with Kenosha County partners, which was really helpful because it's allowed me to meet with a few partners already. So we are working on programming starting in April. In the meantime, I'm just continuing to learn the curriculum so I can deliver it. So like for Rent Smart, for the participants and train the trainer, my goal is to start delivering those by late summer. Also with encouraging financial conversations as well. And then we do have a newer program. You can see the picture of planning ahead right in the center there above the photos. This is more legacy planning. So this is another curriculum that I'm working on to deliver starting late summer, early fall for our community partners.
This slide is Jan Cohen's spot. She is not here tonight because she's coming back from a conference currently. So as opposed to me telling you about crops and vegetables and such, which I'm not an expert, I'm just going to give you just a little time to go and look at her 2024 work and 2025 plan.
Just for clarity on this, Ann started, what, about mid-year or something like that, 24?
July. Yep. She's been very busy. She has. Anyone need more time?
Oh, hello everyone. My name is BJ Pandian. I'm a horticulture extension educator serving both Kenosha and Racine counties. As an extension faculty, my role is a little bit different. I have a 25% research appointment and 60% teaching and 15% appointment as professional services. So as part of my research, last year, I've been focusing on a couple of projects. One is about on growing sweet potatoes in raised bed garden. So what varieties are best performing in raised bed situation? Because trying to grow sweet potatoes in ground is very challenging, especially in this part of this country because of the heavy soil that we have. And so there are, even though we have multiple varieties in the United States, which varieties can able to be harvested within 110 days and how it performs in the raised beds. So that information could be transferred to the consumers, especially the urban gardeners. Okay, that's my goal. So last year we started this trial. We've been growing in 2 different site locations, one in Kenosha here at the trial garden and one up in Racine in this 31 correctional facility. So this year we're going to replicate the trial because any research trial needs to be done at least for 2 to 3 years. So probably by end of this year, I'll get some concrete results. Okay. So the next part of the trial was about blueberry variety performance. This is very eye-opening for me in a sense that we can't able to grow blueberries here in southeast part of Wisconsin because blueberries do need an acid soil. We don't have them. But we have a huge, enormous market here for selling those blueberries, either for Chicago, Milwaukee. There's a lot of potential here. So how do you able to grow them? So one of the ways is to grow them in a soilless medium, either in a trench system or in a raised bed system. So we experimented here successfully. But during the part of the study, I was able to by trial, I came to know that trial and error that there is a bit of a significant difference in the quality of these blueberries growing in a soilless media. And I was actually wondering why there is a huge difference, even though the sugar content is same, but when we do a taste assessment, a lot of people disliked it. And so when I did a lot of literature digging review, I came to know about a couple of publications that the soil as the substrate that we use affects the quality of the blueberry fruits. So that was a very interesting thing for me. This year, actually, I'm going to further investigate onto those variety performance because it's been only a 3rd year in growing them in a raised bed. So probably they'll get into maximum production in about 5th year. So by 5th year, I'll have some more concrete results on that. So I presented this study at the Commercial Berry Growers Association in Wisconsin Dells past January about this as well. So as part of my teaching commitment, I've been doing a lot of statewide and regional presentations, both at the Wisconsin Arborist Association as well as with the Woody Invasive Species Training Program. One of the biggest one is about Tree of Heaven. We have a huge invasive population in city of Kenosha. We don't know yet. Many people are not aware about it. But it's going to be a big problem because down in Chicago, we have an infestation of spotted lanternfly. And one of the primary hosts of that particular species is Tree of Heaven. And this Tree of Heaven is not a new species. According to literature review, we had this Tree of Heaven back early as even 1800s. Not many people didn't know it. Back in the time, they were being sold as an ornamental tree. And then it became so invasive, many nursery people stopped selling that. Now it's going to become a big headache because once a spotted lanternfly comes in, it's going to be a primary host for the Tree of Heaven, and that's going to cause more problems. So one of my biggest goals is to map this Tree of Heaven, where exactly it is in city of Kenosha, as well as in other part of the Kenosha area. There is one down in Twin Lakes area. And so that when we have the infestation, the urban foresters and the city people can know actually how to control them, where exactly they are located. So that's my goal about that. Statewide, we've been offering a monthly gardening and landscaping Q&A session. It's been very well attended. Every time we have about more than 200 people attending those sessions. So including myself and a few other state specialists engage in answering some live questions, those things as well. Last couple of years, we started a new program called Gardening for Beginners. This is a program in partnership with the Kenosha Public Library. And it is gaining a lot of traction. A lot of people are attending this free seminar that's been hosted in the winter time. 2025, this program got expanded. We started from 4 sessions to 5 sessions. Now it became more of a 10 sessions. So people can join in once a month to attend these sessions. We also been doing a plant health advising program. Any people can call me, ask questions about gardening thing. Last year, we had about more than 700 people inquiries on gardening related kind of questions. Shifting gear, I've been serving as an educational advisor for Wisconsin Arborist Association as part of my professional services. So moving on. Come up, next slide. So in 2025 plan of work, here's one of my main goals. Currently, United States is importing about 96% of peat from Canada. Peat is one of the main substrate that has been used for horticulture industry. Either you talk about from buying a tomato plant in the garden center or even buying any trees and shrubs, peat is the main thing right now. And for growing blueberries in soilless media, peat is the main thing. So one of my objectives is that besides peat, what other soilless substrates can be used actually? So that could also reduce the cost for many of the commercial growers to grow them in a soilless media in southeast part of Wisconsin. So besides assessing the variety performance, I'm going to also experiment in trying to grow blueberries in alternatives to peat as well too. And this year, we're going to start a new program at the Kenosha County Arboretum called Adapt a Tree Program under the name called Grow With Us. The significance about this program is that any organization, any individual can adopt a tree here. And all these trees will have a geotagging. Geotagging, what it means is that all the trees growth data will be recorded every year. And there'll be a QR code in those tags. Everyone can access them. There will be a climatic information also be presented in that as well too. So they can know how these trees are being influenced by these climatic changes, how much growth they've been offered. Plus, if they want to recognize your company or individuals, that all information will also be recorded there. So currently I'm working with the county's GIS department, trying to do all the behind the scene work in getting these things up and running. So hopefully during this coming Arbor Day program, or maybe later in the growing season, we will officially announce this. Gardening for Beginners series, we are offering that currently. It's been expanded to 10-week program. And I'm still continuing with the landscape gardening and Q&A sessions. And I'm also going to be continuing with the Tree of Heaven mapping project as well. That's it.
Thanks.
really excited about the tree. I thought you guys were looking at it.
We were. I had to look what it looked like.
Yeah,
I'm like, I think I pull those
I
out
know,
my
I
car
know.
all the time.
I know it, yeah.
I'll put it at my next future presentation. I think I kind of talked about it a couple of years ago, I believe so, but I'll bring it back again.
Thank you.
4-H youth development, that's me, Carolyn Van. And most of you probably know what 4-H is, but we're part of the nation's largest youth development organizations. We try to get kids to spark new interests, try new things, and leadership skills and community service. So in Kenosha right now, we have 9 community clubs and 19 countywide projects for the kids to try. And we have an enrollment of about 700 members. And like I said, community service is a large part of our organization. And so the youth are working with Kenosha's local Sleep in Heavenly Peace. A lot of them did that, built some beds. They work with the Shalom Center and do food drives. The kids organized a toy drive of their own this year. They were featured on Channel 4 News. So that was a big deal for them. They're cleaning parks, cemeteries, and working with senior citizens. That top picture there is a group of girls from our gardening project in Floral, and I have to brag on them a little bit. They not only grew their flowers this year, they took them to Archwood, the senior living complex in Paddock Lake, but instead of making bouquets for them, they actually ran a little seminar for the seniors and taught the seniors how to make their own bouquets and worked with them on that. So that was fun for them to do. They had enough to take to their rooms, and then they made some for the dining hall as well. So that was fun to incorporate that teaching aspect for the kids. We had 3 day camps. We worked with facilities in Kenosha County, Pringle, Vaughn, Hawthorne. So that's nice to have those resources in our backyards. The youth, our goal ultimately is to give them more leadership, voice, opportunity, telling us what they would like to do. And then obviously a huge part of it too is the kids showing all their work and things that they've done at the Kenosha County Fair. So 2025 plan of work, I mentioned before, we are always on the lookout for volunteers. The more volunteers we have, the more programming we can do. Just this past weekend, we had a volunteer summit here for our volunteers to thank the current ones. We offered workshops for them to gain maybe new teaching methods, new ideas. We had a resource fair with about 15 vendors for them. And we had about a dozen youth volunteers, so that was a good event. Always trying to move east of the interstate because Kenosha County 4-H is more out in the county typically. We are going to put an emphasis more on the middle school aged kids. We have done some research, which I won't go into tonight, but how youth brain development at middle age, those leadership responsibilities really do help develop their brains. And so we're looking into that. So then we can maybe hold on to those kids, retain them a little more. As we know, once kids get into high school, they get a lot, more responsibilities. So if we can get them anchored in 4-H in middle school, then hopefully we'll retain them in high school. The youth have told us they want more countywide activities. So we'd be combining a lot of the clubs once in a while for outings or social events. And obviously just keep increasing that enrollment by offering quality programming.
Yes, I introduced myself earlier, but I'm Camille. I started last January, so just wrapped up my first full year here at Extension. It's been really great. I know I just talked to you guys recently in December as well with some of my 2024 highlights. So I'll just quickly recap them. Back in September, there was a community conversation on disability inclusion. This was a partnership between Kenosha and Racine. I did a lot of support with the planning meetings between the youth planner leaders and the adult planners. Unfortunately, I had a conference I went to, a training, so I was not able to attend the actual event, but it was a success. And me and my colleague Maria are brainstorming ways to keep the momentum going with disability inclusion and those youth leaders.
Another highlight was youth as partners in civic leadership. So we took the leaders from the community conversation to this youth conference, and they were able to meet other youth leaders from across the state. It was a great opportunity to participate in workshops and also lead a workshop. So they were invited to actually lead a workshop on disability inclusion and some other spaces. But due to some funding issues, we weren't able to participate. But it was still a great experience, and I would like to potentially do that in 2025 with Youth as Resources or Youth and Governance coming up. I also organized a college visit for first generation students. So I myself am a first generation student, and yeah, I'm very passionate about giving back to that community as well, my community. So that was really great. We went to Marquette University back in November, and we connected with the Academic Resource Center, and we also connected with the Career Center. So it was more than just like an information session and a campus visit, but like giving tools to first generation students on how to access these campus resources and know that these services exist and you should take them up when you enter college. If I had that opportunity in high school, I know it would have been really impactful for me. So it was a great day. For 2025, we have one tentatively scheduled for next month to UW-Madison. So looking forward to sharing updates on that. Yeah, I would 2024 highlight lots of professional development opportunities for YIG and YAR. For YAR specifically, we have had a couple guest speakers come through. The youth members have shared that it's been really impactful for them, and it's been really great to learn about Kenosha County more deeply. Last month, we had the president of the Kenosha Innovation Neighborhood come by, and we had a couple of Lakeview students on the board, and they were not familiar at all with it. So it was really impactful for the new school in Lakeview is being built in that new neighborhood. So there was a direct connection there, and the youth brought into like some teachers and counselors as well. So there's like that ongoing conversation after the meeting as well, which is really great to see. For Youth as Resources, also trying to increase our outreach opportunities. So me and a couple of youth attended the Volunteer Summit as a resource table this past Saturday at the 4-H Summit, and that was really great. So we made good connections there, not only to promote the grant, but also to like learn about volunteer opportunities, which is another board responsibility. For Youth and Governance, I hosted a few skills building meetings for youth and governance members. The first one was really well attended, so I want to continue extending professional development opportunities in that regard for youth and governance as well for 2025. And yeah, I participated in a youth and governance curriculum jam. So that was just about connecting to curriculum that already exists around like local government. There's several counties throughout the state who have a youth and governance program in some way or form. So it's been nice to connect with other state educators and learn about resources available to share with the youth and increase their leadership capacity and support their voice. So I'm participating in another curriculum jam coming up this year. I believe it's around mental health. So I'm really excited to be engaged in that space. Yeah, I think that aligns with supporting mentorship and adult volunteer training and continuing building post-secondary pathway programming and relationships. There's been a need for skills around social emotional learning in Kenosha County. So I think these opportunities I'm engaging with will support my work here to help support the youth.
Let's see. Okay, so I'm Jeremy Beach, the program administrator for Foodwise in Kenosha County. I too am new. I've been here roughly about 5 months now. I'm with Alana. I'm in the throes of onboarding and training and whatnot. I was brought in right at the start of our fiscal year in October, but almost 1,300 individuals have participated in our program our curricula. And our curricula is divided between SNAP Ed, so Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and FNEP, which is the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program. So yes, over almost 1,300. Continuing our partnerships with many different organizations throughout Kenosha County, the Sharing Center, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Shalom, all over the place. We've taught summer curricula at the Boys and Girls Club of Kenosha. And we've also had an educator work with future homeowners through Habitat for Humanity of Kenosha County at Bossy, so the Kenosha area. Yes, thank you. At the Bossy, working with that units for future homeowners. Many schools throughout KUSD, including Brass, Casel, and many more. And also, we partnered with 14 different partners throughout Kenosha County in the last fiscal year. Just to kind of give you a rundown of what exactly our educators do. So I have a team of 4 educators and 1 teaching coordinator. They're really kind of the face. They're the ones out in the community, kind of doing the work, doing the education. I'm just one that stays home at the office and kind of keeps the fires burning and that does shuffles the big board and whatnot. So, but our educators for SNAP Ed over, let's say, almost 250 sessions, and that's over just a shy over 200 hours in the Kenosha community. And FNEP, you'll see the numbers are a little bit smaller. There are reasons. I can go into them if need be, but 74 sessions per FNF and almost 100 hours for that commitment for people that participated in our programs. In terms of what I would like to do as the program administrator going forward for 2025, engaging with our farmers markets is something that I would really like to do. That's something I'm spending a couple hours this afternoon looking at all the different farmers markets throughout Kenosha County. One of the things with food wise is we can only offer our curricula to certain individuals that meet certain income criteria for SNAP benefits and whatnot. So unfortunately, a lot of farmers markets are in areas, census tracts that don't necessarily qualify for our curricula, but that doesn't mean that going to those farmers markets don't qualify for. So that's something that I'll be working with and reaching out to farmers markets recently to see, try and form some type of partnership with them. And I need new contacts. Continue efforts to expand access to FoodWise curricula in Western. I basically have the exact opposite problem. Not me, FoodWise. Is a majority of our participants are in the eastern parts of Kenosha County. And not so much in the western parts. I know there's people out there that would qualify for our curricula. It's just they're more concentrated closer to the lake and the cities. So that's something I'm doing in my new position, kind of exploring opportunities of how we can get people in the western parts of the county to participate if they so wish. And finally, exploring partnerships with KUSD. As I said, we are in a few KUSD schools, but I would like to see maybe that expand out a little bit further. Unfortunately, in terms of schools, along with individuals, we can only work with schools that meet certain criteria in terms of free and reduced lunch. So if the school has over 50% of the student population qualifies for free and reduced lunch, we can work with the students and the teachers. Unfortunately, in this part, the western part of the county, that's not really the case. So, expanding access with places like the Sharing Center as well. We do a little bit in what we call indirect education with the Sharing Center. We partner with them, we talk with them, we provide them with materials, but we don't actually do any actual physical education or anything like that. So that's something I'm also looking into my new role. So thank you. And also, I have impact reports for Kenosha County for FoodWise. If anybody would like them, I can cover. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and that is our presentation and our updates. So we would like to open the floor to you all if you have any questions for any of us educators.
I have one about the spotted lantern fly. Is that right? So it's like I saw it in Indiana and a person who knew about him was like, don't bring it here years ago. So is it here now? Are we in trouble? We're gonna die?
No, it's not. See, it's down in Chicago and it was detected 2 years ago. It's a matter of time. Many people think it might be already because if you look at how many people commuting in every day from Chicago to Milwaukee or to Wisconsin, and one of the thing is that how it got in Chicago, Indiana is through the freight trains. That area seems to be having all this weedy tree of heavens actually, and there is no way we can able to access those areas actually because we need to get all the federal authorities permissions to even to assess those sites. So one of the theory is that most of this population would have came through those kind of freight trains because these egg masses can be easily laid in that, and it's not easy to detect. And there's a lot of tree of heaven in that area, the railroad tracks area, which has not been properly cleared and all those things. So it's a matter of time. A lot of time, many people see this invasive species only when we have the population gets exploded. And then we come to know, oh my God, it's all over right now. So we have some few close calls last couple of years. Some dead spotted lanternfly was detected. One in nearby Lake Geneva area, one in Dane County areas. These are all from nursery imported areas. Those are all dead. And currently, the DNR and the DATCAP. This is actually more of a nuisance type of pest. Not going to kill the tree, but it's going to weaken the tree. So I've got some amazing photo shots and from Pennsylvania and other places how this insect could be very nuisance to us. So I'll share that next time again. I'll make it more interesting, bring some more hands-on activity for you guys to come and see, so you guys could spread this word.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Along the same lines, we talked about the gypsy moth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we had a little infestation out there, but then last year was a very wet spring, which probably knocked them back. Plus there was some spraying and stuff. So I didn't see that in your report, so I was curious on all that.
Yeah, sorry for mention that. First of all, thank you guys for actually budgeting last year to do the aerial spot in one of those hotspot area right up on the KD road. That's been very helpful. Because I gave a report last year again about the comparison. If in case we didn't spray the area, the trees would have been furthermore stressed out. We have seen the population outbreak in few other areas that came to my attention as well by the homeowners, as well as some nursery goers over there as well too. Only the fact that the rain actually helped in triggering those natural pathogen only around like mid-June. By the time mid-June, these spongy moth devastated most of the trees. But overall the population crashed. I'm going to monitor again because we don't know how the spring is going to be. The spring rain is the one that's going to dictate. So even though the population crashed, it doesn't mean that whether we're going to have 100% crash. No, there'll be always some like 5 to 10% maybe that might be population still thriving. But if in case they have a perfect weather condition, let's say the spring, if it's pretty dry relatively from the month of May, early June, those 5% could actually get exploded back again and start to build the population back again, in the next couple of years. So we'll still keep monitoring it, but we don't need to be worrying about doing any more aerial spray, at least for this year or for next year, I would say, at least for say.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No, we have it all on the agenda.
Comments? Oh. I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Approval of minutes.
Well, are we done with the extension educator reports? Was that what that was, or was that the
Yes.
plan of work?
The reports are a monthly reminder. You get
Oh,
the
the reports.
electronic
Okay,
version.
yeah.
Just make sure you know.
That was the, yes, that was planned.
Motion to approve the minutes from this, from January.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. All right, citizens' comments. Any citizens wishing to speak? Any citizens wishing to speak? Okay, any citizens wishing to speak? No, all right. I have no comments. Any committee members' comments?
For next month's agenda, we have 3 items, one new applicant and then the one table item for tonight.
Yes, there will be a meeting in April. Okay. Now, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you had some questions. You were the first one.
Okay, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, so just a quick update, we received over 30 applications for youth and governance. So last year, we received 18 applications, but only 16 youth followed through the interview process. So this is really great and really promising. As we transition, some youth have been sending in recommendation letters. I know there was no component in the rubric for recommendation letters, so I wasn't sure how you guys would like to handle the recommendation letters that have been turned in. I was gonna follow up with you who haven't turned in a recommendation letter and just let them know it's optional and won't have any bearing on their their evaluation of their interview or their written application. If you guys would like to see them after, like, the scores have been submitted after both nights, but yeah, I just gonna get your feedback right now on that.
I'm sorry, who's on the committee to interview?
Yes, it's Supervisor Gertson, Supervisor Decker, Jennifer, Kenzie, and Harsha.
So how many of the 31?
6.
Have others?
Yeah, 6.
I wouldn't even need follow-up. You only have 6.
Okay.
Personally, that's my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I agree.
Do you want to see those with the applications or not?
Okay, no, because they're not, it wasn't required.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. And then, November checks are done in November and February. So I wasn't sure how to, calculate the attendance because like the finance committee had like 5 meetings in October. And I know like we say only 1 monthly meeting is expected. So I just counted like 1 October meeting across the committees, based on, that interpretation of the handbook. But I would say that of our 15 youth, 7 of them are between 40 and 60%, which is,
And the expectation is 60% for
Yes.
committee meetings.
for committee meetings, yes. Some of them have been attending county board meetings, some of them have been attending other committee meetings. A few of them have been attending, my extension programming as well, so, yeah, I think I just wanted to offer that up for discussion as well.
So I would say you need to talk to the people who aren't meeting their standard. And again, not that I want to make an exception, but I would say that if they're going to other committee meetings or if they're going to 5 board meetings, but not committee meetings, obviously we expect them to be at committee meetings, find out what's going on. Is it a scheduling thing? Do they need to be moved to a different committee? Whatever. But so I would want you to follow up with them and then get us some feedback as to why we chatted. I said that the 5 finance meetings don't count. I mean, you don't have to, you don't get a percentage of all 5 of them, yeah. But, so yeah, if you would find out what's going on and if we have to ask them to step down, then we have to ask them to step down. I don't think, especially when we're raising the standards, it's not right to let them slip by.
Talk to the mentors too, see if they have a. Yeah, indication why they're missing the minimum.
For sure, and I'll follow up with you guys at the April meeting, or should I send an email?
April's the last,
Meeting.
April's the end of it, right?
Pretty much.
Basically.
So you've got about a month there.
So if somebody's at 40%, we have a problem because they can't, how do they make it up? I mean, and so that would be one of the things that, it is an expectation that you be at 60%. So, I mean, I guess my question is, you're gonna talk to them
And then what?
and then what?
I believe they don't get to get a certificate that they participated, is that correct? There's
yeah.
something along that lines.
Yeah.
They don't get their 60%.
Yeah.
They don't get recognition of being a participant.
Yeah, that's how it is in the handbook currently. I will say though that the meetings currently range from 5 meetings for a committee to up to 10. So there's like different amount of meetings for each, which affects like how the percentage is generated as well.
What committees only met 5 times?
I believe it's the legislative.
Oh.
Yeah, and then the next lowest one is I think Public Works at 7.
That's a dilemma too then. I mean,
And they attend other meetings?
well, so that's a good point. I mean, so yeah, so follow up with them, figure it out. I would say send us all an email as soon as you have that information so we can help process whether or not they should get a certificate.
Yeah, the Public Works meeting, I do not see our youth many a times. We'll just say.
And then,
Yeah,
no,
I think that's it.
the 31 people, I suggested that she include all of them because even though the cutoff is supposed to be 25, right? Cutoff's supposed to be 25 if for the interviews, if we're not certain that they're all gonna make the interview, I would hate to cut it off at 25 and then 5 of them don't make it, now we're at 20. So, yeah, suggested.
I think it's AUSD spring break that week, so I've already received at least one communication that those interview dates wouldn't work for
2 people, at least 2 people I know for certain.
really. So Jennifer has more knowledge than me.
Yes, I know 2 people who are going out of the country, so.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so.
yeah, so that should affect who's signing up. And if we want to make virtual accommodations, I know last year we had one youth request a virtual interview, but I'm not sure if you guys would like to extend that opportunity this year.
Let's just see how many we have doing interviews. So yeah, I think we have, 29 now. That's, yeah.
Okay.
I think they were whittled down to 25 previously when we had that many, I remember.
24.
Right.
Well, we know
And it was only 1 year before last. I just remember hearing that we used to have more and then it was whittled down and then for the interviews and then they brought it the interviews, what, 15, 16? 16 plus a couple alternates.
That's, yeah, that was everything on my other part.
Thank you.
And then I have the packets here to pass out.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
I-
I-